Good evening and welcome to the SWAN Enhancement Steering Committee meeting. Welcome everybody. I'm Betsy, I'm the chair of the SWAN Enhancement Committee.
I'm Crystal Lightman, I'm the vice chair.
Siobhan Cooper, Communications.
Okay, I'm Don Collins, I'm a businessman here in town, and I'm gonna leave in about an hour because I'm on a school committee and we've got a full plate.
Darcy Benoit, owner of Bees on Broadway.
And Molly Lambert, an emeritus member of the steering committee.
And I'm Hank Lambert, her spouse.
No, you're beautification chair.
And her spouse.
Comma. The beautification committee.
He's Hank Lambert, he gets things done.
That's right, that's right.
Gets things done.
I'm Nancy Fuller, and this is just my second meeting.
I'm Susan Collins. I taught in Swanton for 24 years, and I'm here because I'm Don's chauffeur since he had his hip replaced.
Oh, wow.
I'm Susie Kelleher, trustee, Swanton Village, here to represent the village tonight.
Abigail Goddard, library director, Swanton Arts Council.
I'm Ally, Swan Arts Council.
And you can introduce yourself if you want. We're not to you yet.
Melinda White, here as a guest.
Jody White, always also here as a guest.
All right, so any agenda review items that we need to add, move? No?
I'll speak for Nick for the historical chamber.
All right. Any public comment?
I have an invoice for you guys too.
An invoice?
Yep, for the pool pass.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually gonna grab it right now before I forget.
All right, thank you. Abby has an invoice.
Since Joel's not here, do you wanna?
Yeah, we should
Table?
probably table them in, or
The financial.
I do have financials that Joel did share with us. The unrestricted balance is $11,322.96. Activity since our last report, the donation, 160, or minus $160. Did you buy some plants?
No,
that's
me.
Oh, that's you. I was like, what did we do, buy some flowers? Yeah, we bought you.
Thanks.
So yeah, just for the minutes, our restricted balance is $32,339.21 with $3,800 committed to LVRT. It's Lamoille Valley Rail Trail Project. Activity since our last report, the beautification had 7 donations of $1,850, and then Green Country Corners Flowers, we spent some money, so $3,430 for flowers. And then balance of our categories, so bikes and signs, $88.95, sorry. Capacity building is $1,477.25. Substance misuse is $1,625.61. Beautification, $6,532.40. Marble Mill, $815. Mural, $0. CD beautification, $18,000. You want a copy of that?
I have one, but he also said he has 1970-30 for beautification for April. Is that received? I don't know if that was received or spent.
He's received it.
Received,
but
so
not
he said he has
deposited.
that for April too.
All right.
It was an email.
And Abby has an invoice for us to be paid out for the pool pass at the library, the Swanton Rec Department, and Swanton Enhancement.
Can you talk about that a little bit? I've heard it 2 or 3 times, but
What's that, the pool pass?
pool pass, yes.
Abby, do you want to explain a
Sure,
little bit about that?
yeah. So we have a pass for up to 4 people that can be checked out for the library. You check it out and you have 3 days to return it. It's for the Hardack Pool in St. Albans, and it's completely free entry with the pass.
Good.
And it's year round now that we've got the support of SEP and Swanton Rec.
Nice.
And it is hopping. It is
So-
never here. You gotta call frequently to get
There's a
it.
wait list, huh?
There's no wait list. We don't hold it. You have to. It's a first come first serve situation. So, but it is never here. It is very well used. It's
So-
an investment.
So how much would it cost if we had for a second pass?
I think it was a little over $1,200.
For a
Yeah.
pass?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it costs about $65 for a family of 4 to go if they were to pay out of pocket as
Yeah.
non-residents.
That's great.
Wow.
It's
So-
a huge benefit to the community to have the pass.
If I was to come here first every week, would I get it every week? Not that I want it, no, but I'm just wondering, one pass and how many hundreds of people?
People are pretty kind to one another, I would say. I mean, nobody's doing that.
Good.
We would probably be like, hey, other people want to use that. Let's share. but it is, as soon as it comes back, somebody calls and checks it out.
It's good.
That's good.
Yeah, it's great.
All set? We do need to go back because I forgot to approve the minutes for March 14th.
I move that the minutes for March 14th be approved.
Second? Second?
All approve, say aye.
No discussion?
No.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, is there any discussion? No discussion? All right, motion carried. All right, so at this time, we'd like to welcome Melinda White as our presenter. So Melinda, you are an emergency room recovery coach for Northwest Medical Center.
Yeah, so recovery coach supervisor at Northwestern Medical Center, employed by the Turning Point, so it's in a partnership with.
She has about 15 hats that she wears.
You bet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, so one of our focuses that we determined, at the beginning of the year that SUP was going to focus on was partially related to reducing substance use within our community. And so we thought it would be great to have Melinda come in and just have a chat with us about what we can do as a community and what is available within the community for those that are struggling with substance use disorder. We know that it touches all walks of life. There's probably not a family in this town that doesn't know somebody or have somebody within their family that's been struggling at some point in time in their life. So we thought this was a great opportunity to have Melinda speak with us.
Great, thank you. So my name is Melinda White. I'm recovery coach supervisor in the emergency department, employed by the Turning Point. The other hat I wear is Vermont Blueprint Mat Leads. So if anybody's familiar with the Blueprint for Health, I work in partnership with Denise Smith on that. And also on the St. Albans Police Advisory Board and the Board of Directors for the Vermont Alliance for Recovery Residences, and that's an organization that certifies recovery residences across the state. So a recovery residence is a place where people can go after completing a residential treatment program or maybe after incarceration to have a safe, substance-free environment. And those can be places that people live anywhere from a few months to a year or more. So I just bring up those hats because I'll probably touch on them here and there. Full disclosure, the person who had asked me to entertain the idea of coming to speak is Sandy, and I absolutely adore Sandy, so I say yes to her before I find out exactly what's needed, and then I'm grateful to have learned that this group is focused on, especially in your recent focus is on substance use. So I did make a PowerPoint. It's probably more extensive than necessary, so I won't spend too much time on each slide, but if anybody's interested in receiving it after, it's something that I can email and have distributed. I also brought some resource cards. They're on the table, those little folded cards. Those are cards that we give to our patients in the emergency department after they have presented for a substance-related incident. Sometimes people might come to the emergency department because they've fallen and broken an arm. So the chief complaint isn't addiction related, yet it may be they were under the influence. So once we do a little bit more digging, we learn that the primary issue that they're struggling with is substance use. So I'm gonna give you a little bit about resources first. I often start with a whole, why are we here? So I did include some information on overdoses in the state of Vermont. This is from the Vermont Department of Health. It also is not completely current. It takes a little bit of time for them to gather data and sift through it, make sure that it's accurate. So one of the hats I didn't mention, I'm a co-founder of the Substance Use Addiction Summit. We're having our 3rd annual this year. It's at the Champlain Valley Expo. The Department of Health and the governor's team are partners with that. So we have them share different statistics. So I stole this from their slideshow from our summit the end of last year. Our summit this year is Friday, July 19th at the Champlain Valley Expo. We'll be having either the governor or Dr. Levine. Dr. Levine has been with us every year. Monica Hutt was with us last year. We're gonna have Jeffrey Trites do the data, but that's usually how we open the event. And then we have a number of different speakers to share about substance use. But we always like to start with, why are we even talking about it? It's not the fun part, it's not the pretty part, but the reality is we continue to lose a lot of people as a result of overdoses. And also, this is focusing on overdoses. I'm really passionate about making sure we're including numbers of alcohol-related deaths, because that is still one of the highest leading substances that people struggle with. And because of the rise in the overdoses with opioids, there was a lot of focus on that. And sometimes we forget to remember that alcohol is also a big issue that we still continue to work with. And again, these are some of the numbers monthly. The reason I included this slide is because we're looking at opioid overdose deaths and also considering xylazine and gabapentin. So when we're talking about opioids and opiates, right, so you have the synthetic opioids or opiates, and then also things like heroin and whatnot, but what we're finding that are really contributing to the overdoses are the synthetic drugs. The reason I include this is because there's been a huge rise in the use of xylazine, and I have a slide on that. And then also gabapentin is a pretty highly prescribed medication for anticonvulsant, and people are misusing that as well. And the combination can be obviously very deadly. So the slide on fentanyl, I won't go through every single piece of it, but what we have found is that oftentimes people might be using fentanyl unknowingly, and it's just, unfortunately, there's never been ethics in drug dealing, and nowadays it's even worse. And I guess I should probably back up, and before any title or I wear or any association I have, I'm a person in recovery myself. So I got into recovery successfully the last time on December 28, 2011. Prior to that, over the course of a little over 3 years, I spent 2 of almost 3 years in residential programs trying to get myself in recovery. So back when I was struggling with substance use, both alcohol and opioids and cocaine and crack, all of that stuff, I do have 4 DUIs that are alcohol related, but there were substances that were accompanying all of those. And at that time, it was mostly pharmaceuticals. And then getting in recovery, getting passionate about working in the field, and also realizing how much overprescribing was happening. In 2018, the prescriber laws had changed, so it was harder to get the pharmaceutical narcotics. Then we saw a rise in heroin. And then over time, now we've seen a rise in fentanyl, and now, of course, we're adding other things like xylazine, which is going to be one of the next slides. So fentanyl is extremely deadly. I'm sure people have heard of it or familiar with it. When people are buying substances on the street, it's not like they're buying it from a laboratory, so they might have 10 bags of what they believe is heroin. 1 bag might kill them, or they might do 7 bags and be fine. They might do a half, so the challenge is that there's just no way to trust or know what they're using. And then xylazine has been the new challenge that we're dealing with and seeing a lot more in the emergency department. There was a Digger article yesterday morning that UVM is seeing a 900% increase in xylazine-related cases. Xylazine is known as, like the street name is Trank. They call it Trank dope because it's mixed with fentanyl or other opioids or heroin. It is not meant for human consumption, so there's no reversal for humans. It's meant for large animals, and there is a reversal called Zolidine for large animals, but again, none of this is FDA approved for humans because it's not meant for human consumption. So this is a huge issue that we're dealing with because there's no way to reverse it. So the other piece, and there's going to be a slide on it, but with the xylazine, it's a flesh-eating disease. So what it does to the body is sometimes irreversible. I included this slide just because I know in talking about prevention too, how much drugs are targeted towards our younger people. Rainbow fentanyl is gonna be a lot more exciting for a younger person than it would be for an older person. So there's more of a focus and target on young people to get them hooked to continue to make money for the people that are distributing drugs. So the other reason that I like to include this, especially the next slide, well, both of them, the last one and the next one. So when you look at the fake oxys, the M30s, so the picture right here is the authentic pharmaceutical. Next to it is a press one, and it's essentially like pressed fentanyl. So if somebody is going to purchase what they believe to be a pharmaceutical, and they'll think, at least I know how much I'm taking, I'm gonna be safe, they don't realize that it could be pressed fentanyl and kill them. And we've unfortunately seen that happen with a lot of, especially younger people, some college people experimenting thinking they're taking a pill. And for years, college students could take a pill and be okay because it was what they thought that they were taking. That's not the case anymore. And then similar with stimulants, so in this case, the picture is Adderall, and again, it's just showing that it's almost impossible by the human eye to identify which one is real and which one is fake, which is why it's so challenging to protect people that are taking pharmaceuticals. I include this slide on Narcan, also known as naloxone. It's the opioid overdose reversal drug, and it is the only drug that you can get, and it's not, you don't have to have a prescription for it. You can get it knowing that you're not gonna be the one consuming it, and it is completely harmless. I do a lot of Narcan overdose trainings so people can better understand it, because there are those fears of what if somebody gets their hands on it, can they misuse it? There's no effect if somebody if somebody took Narcan, it's not gonna do anything. The only function it has is, of course, if they have opioids in their system, it scoops out the receptors. Otherwise, it's safe to use on anyone. Sometimes the question comes that, what if the person just had a heart attack and it's not an overdose? Well, it's not gonna harm them. What if a child gets their hands on it? Not gonna harm them. What if a child gets their hands on their parent's supply and goes into an overdose? This will reverse the overdose for a child. So I'm a huge supporter of people knowing that they can access Narcan at any time. It's important to have on hand, and it's not only for people who are misusing drugs. There's been a number of families in our community in Franklin County where somebody might be getting prescribed large volumes of medication because they're going through a medical issue. I remember a seasoned couple that the wife was coming to us periodically because her husband was accidentally taking too much of his medication. He would forget that he took it. And instead of calling 911 each time when they kind of, finally learned here's what's going on, they were able to have that on hand. That doesn't mean that you don't call 911 though. That's the biggest instruction when I do an Narcan training, is the critical piece to all of this is calling 911 for a number of reasons: to have professionals there on site, to have the person be able to continue with care, and also for individuals who might be concerned about what ends up happening. Am I going to be liable? They're covered under the Good Samaritan law. So there's more information on Narcan, and it's available through a number of different locations in Vermont, and locally in Franklin County. We've got the Turning Point of Franklin County, which is on Lake Street. We have a couple of satellite locations, also the Howard Center, the BART Clinic. So there's a number of places that people can get it.
We have it here too. We have harm reduction bags here.
Ow!
Right.
That is music to my ears. How exciting. Thank you for saying that. And I think, one thing to touch on too with the harm reduction packs, that not only do those have Narcan, they've got helpful literature, and also there are fentanyl test strips. So this is for harm reduction. People who know that they're not in a place where they're able to stop using altogether, they can at least test and see if fentanyl is in their supply. Also xylazine test strips. One of the challenges with the xylazine test strips is that it's not effective with lidocaine, so cocaine may give a false reading, but it's still helpful for people to know that these are available. And also the phone numbers, the Vermont Helplink and 211 and all of that. So thank you. That makes me excited that you guys carry that. So the recovery coach in the emergency department, and I think what I'm going to do is even back up a little bit about what is a recovery coach. So a recovery coach is not a clinician or a counselor or a therapist or a sponsor. When people are working with therapists or clinicians, counselors, usually they're working on processing past and what's happened in the past, whereas a recovery coach is very focused on present and future. Recovery coach is also, our primary purpose is to provide resource referral and use motivational interviewing, which is asking open-ended questions so we can learn what is the person motivated to work on, what do they see as a priority. A good example is, I've worked with somebody who is struggling with homelessness, doesn't have a phone, struggles with food insecurity. So when I was talking to them, my thought was, well, let's look at the housing piece first, because I would think that's the most important piece. And that person was most interested in getting a job. So they were comfortable sleeping in an encampment for the time being and working. So it's learning what a person is willing to start working on first, supporting them in that, and having small achievable goals. And ultimately the goal is, I mean, for me, the goal is to get people to a place of health and healing. So that's definitely the goal. And yet sometimes the steps that we take to get there might look like it's not focused on that one thing. Like it might not be on their physical health, it might be getting them that job. But that in turn might help them with the next piece of being able to afford a taxi to go to their primary care doctor appointment. So a recovery coach is essentially just a partner. Our coaches are peers and partners to walk alongside somebody who's in need of help. We do everything from, in the emergency department, everything from helping people to get into a residential treatment program, which in our state, that's like our Valley Vistas, our Serenity houses. People typically stay an average of 2 weeks. Is that long enough? No. And also it's better than 0 days. That's why the continuum of care is so important. Usually what I'll have a person do is make sure as soon as they land at that place that they sign releases so I can work with their aftercare plan and see if we can get them in a recovery residence. If they're living in a safe place at home and returning to a safe place in their home environment, make sure they're connected with intensive outpatient, with outpatient therapy, with recovery coaching, with 12-step recovery communities. So really bridging all those services. And like I said, the recovery coach is not a substitute for outpatient clinical care like a therapist. It complements it. So the more wraparound and support a person can get, the better. And part of what it looks like is we have a pager system where we cover the emergency department at Northwestern Medical Center from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. If they identify somebody who's there because of an overdose, that's a pretty obvious one that the chief complaint is going to be associated with substance use. But again, sometimes it might be that the person is sick and it's a result of being in withdrawal. It might be that the person sprained an arm because they fell, because they're under the influence. So once they identify that the person could benefit from connecting with one of our coaches, they page us, and then we present to the emergency department. We work with the medical team to see what they have so far with the person. We meet with the person, and it has been, we're the last hospital in the state to have adopted this program. It started in 2018 in the state of Vermont. We started our partnership with Northwestern Medical Center, the planning stages in 2021, and then we went live in 2022. We've seen 309 people so far that have agreed to continue follow-up. Part of what we do is ask them, are you open to us reaching out to you for the next 10 days so we can help you with follow-up to residential treatment, help you with employment connection, with housing connection. So we've had 309 people so far. That's as of the data from last month. And some of the cases, we did a presentation for the Franklin Grand Isle Community Partnership yesterday with our emergency department director and then my director and myself. And a few examples I'm going to give is one person that was at the emergency department. When I asked the charge nurse if they had anybody that could benefit from a coach, she said, we have somebody that really needs one. It's very clear they do, but I'm not going to ask you to see that person. I said, okay, well, tell me more. So that morning, the person had gone to the emergency department, ended up getting pretty physical, and there were security guards, there was a throwdown, the person left. Hours later, because of course this was later afternoon, the person came back still needing care. So they were there, but when they suggested, well, maybe we'll page a recovery coach, the person had some colorful language that we wouldn't say in church, and they started throwing things, and were pretty rough and combative. So the nurse says, I really don't want you to get abused today, so I'm not going to ask you to see this person. I was like, okay. So well, can I at least walk by the room and just see if I recognize the person? Because I know a lot of people in the community. So she's like, yeah, go ahead. So I was meeting with the director anyway. I had some paperwork. And when he saw me, I said, just play along, and I just want to walk by a room. So we walked by the room. I didn't recognize the person. And then when we walked back, the person yelled out, hey, you. So I kind of looked over. I said, me? He goes, yeah. He goes, aren't you the piano player over at the church? I said, well, actually, yes, I am. I said, you want to chat? Yeah. So I went and sat down with her. Of course, I gave the director, I'm like, here, take the papers, I'll meet you in an hour. Went and sat down with the person. And we chatted for almost 45 minutes. And totally agreed to follow up with the program, so grateful we connected. And before I was leaving, It's like, well, hey, can you pray with me before you go? Well, I certainly can. That's a door that we can't open, but if you ask, yes, we can respond. So that's one example. Another one is a person who was very hypervigilant, angry, very grr towards the medical staff. When I showed up, was willing to work with me, even though this person was very challenging to work with. The person was willing to make a call to do a screening to residential treatment. So I get them on the phone, but then the person got a call from their drug dealer, so they weren't ready to finish the screening then. Said that they want to do it later, but they have to get out of the hospital. And they plowed past the nurse, said some choice words towards the nurse, and disappeared. 2 hours later, the person surfaced at our recovery center and said, you know what, I'm ready to do that screening. So we called from there. So it's those things where the challenge for the medical staff at the emergency department, and we're working on that, is that they get to only see the worst of the worst. And it's really hard to stay motivated to help when you're getting treated poorly by people who are suffering and you're not seeing any like fruitful outcomes. So the beautiful thing with our partnership is that we're able to share what happened next with them after. And the last thing, and I'm not going to pull it up right now because I know I don't have the length of time that I would need to play it, but I just want to get it on your radar. WCAX, Laura Ullman, a reporter with WCAX, did a 3-part series, and this, I'll make sure that you guys have access to this and links, but on the first part, it was an individual that I met in the emergency department that was there for an overdose and also had been using xylazine. Had well over 100 lesions all over his face and body from what I could see, and it wasn't our first time interacting with this person. He was in a place of willingness, and we made a call right then and there to treatment. Sometimes there are delays getting those calls, but luckily I did one of those like phone a friend, and I reached out directly to the cell of the director of that treatment center, because I said, we've got this person, the window's open, we can't lose this window. He was able to get the gentleman in the next day. And at this time, I was supporting not only the person, but his mom, who was completely broken because it's not her first time dealing with this journey with her son, but now he's willing. So they were able to get him to Valley Vista the next day. He did have to be transported by ambulance from Valley Vista to Dartmouth for a short time because they thought he was going to lose his foot because of the xylazine, because the lesions and the infection in his foot. And thank God his foot was saved, so he didn't have to have it amputated. They took care of the infection, brought him back to Valley Vista. He finished his stay there, and then he bridged to a recovery residence. There wasn't an opening in Vermont, so he went to one in Maine, and he is still there. So this series, Laura Ullman had asked me, is there anybody that you know that recently went through treatment that would be willing to share about their experience? And I said, I know exactly the person. She interviewed this person and his mother, and it was just the most beautiful story. So I'd encourage you, after I get the link sent out, if it can be maybe emailed, it's really worth a watch. And this is just, again, one of those stories that I just shared with the emergency department service team, have shared with their nursing team, so they can see that the people you're seeing here, I'm not saying they all do, this is not a rosy sunglasses fake thing. Not everybody recovers and does amazing, but there's plenty that do and they don't get to see it, and that's our goal, is to make sure they see those stories after. And I know I talked about the Turning Point a decent amount, so I won't spend too much more time, but the Turning Point is a recovery center. Our main location is at 182 Lake Street in St. Albans. We're conveniently located across from the liquor store. And we host everything. We share space and host space to 12-step meetings, so that's your Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. There's also Smart Recovery, Al-Anon, so that's for the family members. Nar-Anon, we also have a Codependence Anonymous group that's not listed here, but that just recently got added. So there's a bunch of great support. There's a Moms in Recovery program, a Parents in Recovery program, and our goal is to help individuals find recovery through peer support. Often, when I'm seeing somebody at the emergency department, I like to match them up with a coach that might have some similarities, because the efficacy of somebody talking to somebody else who's been there, that is so much more effective because there's like this instant credibility. And I know the way I was when I went to this treatment center and that treatment center and this one, the first thing I'd ask the doctors, and I was like, if you've never used drugs, you have no idea what I'm going through. And then they gave me somebody who had. And I said, wow, I might actually listen to this person a little bit more than I listen to anybody else, and that's where the door starts opening. So the people that work at the Turning Point are people in recovery, and they can be very compassionate and also hold people accountable. I get concerned because sometimes I feel like years ago there was a very punitive response to addiction. I get nervous now because sometimes it's almost too much of a coddling, and it's about how do we find balance to hold people accountable and do it in a strength-based, loving way. So we want to love people, we want to encourage them, and we also don't want to co-sign things that aren't going to be healthy for them in the long run, and we don't want to take away their power. I sometimes want to do the work for other people, but I realize that's not helpful to them. So how can I support them in doing the work themselves, and then they have more esteem by doing it. So this is the slide on the what is a recovery coach. We already kind of touched on that, and I am guessing I'm probably getting close to running out of time, so I'm going to go past that. Hub and spoke model. Vermont is the starter of the hub and spoke model, and essentially a hub is a place where people can go on a daily basis for their medications to be administered. A spoke is when a person's a little bit more stable and they can go to a spoke like a primary care physician or a specialty spoke and get a prescription for their medication. It could start out as a daily thing, maybe go to bi-daily, eventually to weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, and so on for medication-assisted treatment. The BART Clinic is the hub, the only gig in town that is a hub. They're on Main Street in St. Albans, and they're the ones that do that daily administration. They're also the only place that a person can go for methadone. Savita is a spoke. They're a specialty spoke, so they do outpatient care. They also, what I love about them is they're very innovative. So one of the nurses from Savita go to our local homeless shelter once a week to meet with people there. So they will actually do the whole meet them where they're at. They'll actually leave their office and go help people where they are, and I am a huge fan of that. So they do, and they also have on-site phlebotomy, which is big. That hasn't happened since our Hope and Recovery Clinic that was shut down prior to COVID. So Savita is my favorite spoke. There's also, and then the Howard Center is the designated agency for behavioral health services and substance use for adults. Northwestern Counseling Support Services is the designated agency for mental health for adults and youth, and then also substance use for youth. Samaritan House is the local homeless shelter, also known as Tim's House. They have the emergency shelter, so I included a slide on that because we often work with people who are struggling with homelessness. So I might be sitting by their bedside at the emergency department and we'll be calling to do an intake for housing. So they're a huge partner of ours. They're also now under the umbrella of CVOEO, which is the Champlain Valley Office of Economic Opportunity. And CVOEO also has organizations like Community Action, Voices for Violence, the Food Pantry. You've got 3 Squares, tax preparation. They do that free. Rebecca is amazing helping people with tax preparation. They offer support with home heating and utilities. So CVOEO is also one of the key partners that I rely on when supporting people that have a number of barriers to health. Restorative Justice Center is on Main Street. They support individuals who are currently under Department of Corrections supervision, and also they opened up that availability to people who historically have been under supervision. So they don't necessarily, they could have maxed out and they'll still support them with everything from the One Stop, which is employment, and they do housing. They connect people with our recovery center, with Hub and Spoke, so they're just another really great partner that we rely on. I also listed Voices Against Violence. That's a huge partner. I've been at the bedside at the emergency department with somebody who had been assaulted, called Voices, literally ran to Voices, got a phone, went back to the hospital, plugged it in so the person had a phone so they could get the call back from Valley Vista. So huge, great partner. Vermont Foundation of Recovery is the local certified recovery residence. It's a male residence, so we're hoping that we'll get a recovery residence for women in Franklin County in the near future. And again, like Vermont HelpLink, emergency services, Northwestern Counseling and Support. If people are in crisis, we make sure that they call the NCSS number. And then the last slide I'm just mentioning on employment, because we've got a number of employment partners. Hireability is one of our biggest. We also work with Working Fields. They support people with connection to employment, and they give them a recovery coach. So they're a great warm handoff as well. So I'm gonna stop there because I don't want to take too much more time and open it for questions. And I hope I shared what you all were looking for.
Take a deep breath. Yeah.
Okay.
So, can we, oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
no,
Go ahead,
no,
Molly.
Go. No, go.
Siobhan?
So I noticed you said in the beginning about 2 weeks they get in the recovery and rehabilitation. A lot of things I've heard when I've been looking up on this stuff is that, and a lot of people agree, just period, 2 weeks is not enough time. Is that a matter of like the payment, like Medicaid or whatever, and, you know?
Yes, so thank you, that's a great question. And that's where I'm gonna plug that WCAX series, because on the first part with Josh's story, there's also interview with the residential treatment programs on that exact thing. Because Josh's mom, CJ, said, wanted him in for a month, 2 months, 3 months, anything but 2 weeks. So what happens is, and I should have clarified that, people who are on Vermont Medicaid covers 2 weeks. It's not that a person couldn't stay longer if it's deemed necessary. If that does happen, then the expense falls on the treatment center, and it's super expensive for them. So we are working through I'm gonna put my co-founder of the Substance Use Addiction Summit now. One of our objectives is to highlight the need for better reimbursement from Vermont Medicaid, because there's not enough of a reimbursement, and we're looking at a tri-state model, because New Hampshire, we can take people who have like New York Medicaid, New Hampshire Medicaid, because they reimburse more than Vermont does. They won't take our Vermont Medicaid because it doesn't suffice. So it is about reimbursement. That being said, if people are on private insurance through like their employers or whatnot, one of my first calls is Granite Recovery in New Hampshire, and I've had multiple people from the emergency department. Just had a veteran a week and a half ago that we called right then and there. It doesn't matter the time, the day of the week, the time of day. They do intakes 24/7. Have a person in Swanton that I went to their house Sunday evening at 7 o'clock to call and do an intake with Granite Recovery, because they have private insurance. So that's the thing, is that the 14-day stay is for Vermont Medicaid. Otherwise, if there's private insurance, it's a better chance that they can get the extra week or additional 2 weeks. So, and I couldn't agree more, 2 weeks is not enough.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Molly?
So, my question, and often when you're out and about and following these issues, you hear that there just are not enough treatment resources. So, do you agree? You listed an amazing amount of organizational strength, it seemed to me. But tell me what your evaluation is of what we need more of.
Yeah.
And what we need less of. And also, just one little add-on. You mentioned the Franklin Grand Isle Community Partnership. I've attended a couple of those meetings, and I have said for years, it is the most tremendous exchange of helpful information that I've ever seen in a community. And so you might just touch on that, because I think a lot of people don't know about it unless they're in a business like yours.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to start with the Franklin Grand Isle Community Partnership. So that is something that was funded statewide up until 2008, and the funding was disbanded. It was the Agency of Human Services that funded it. Franklin Grand Isle County was the only one to continue holding those meetings. Crystal and I are on the PELT, which is the Partnership Executive Lead Team together, and I've been on that. Joe Halko is still,
Amazing.
Everybody who knows Joe loves him, so he's still on it too. I've been on it with him for probably about like 7 or 8 years now. So that group meets the first Wednesday of each month. The meeting is from 9 to 10:30, and it's open to anyone.
It's open.
It's open to anyone.
Yeah, right.
So we invite people. Our attendance is still very strong. I manage the attendance and the listserv, and I have over 300 people on the listserv. I send out weekly updates with brochures and information on upcoming initiatives. We have one presenter per month. June and December are earmarked for our legislators, so our June meeting is going to be for our legislators, and we've had great attendance from our legislators. So I would encourage anybody who is interested in that. Again, it's the first Wednesday of each month, located at Northwestern Counseling and Support Services, 107 Fisher Pond Road in St. Albans. The meeting itself starts at 9, so it's 9 to 10:30. The communication that goes out says 8:30 to 10:30. 8:30 to 9 is networking and arrival. If you're joining, it is available by Zoom too. It's hybrid. If you're joining by Zoom, I'd log in 10 minutes early, not a half hour early, because it's harder to network when you're on Zoom. People don't really mingle as much as they do when you're physically there in the room. And you can't reach the cookies that are brought. So, so that's about the partnership, and it's one of the best ways to get connected with everything from healthcare, nonprofit, just different education, employment, healthcare organizations that are looking to network. The other piece you asked about the resources. So there's so many great resources. The challenge we have, what we need less of, are barriers. So if somebody's trying to get into a residential treatment program and they don't have a phone, that's a barrier. I've made a number of calls with people at the bedside of the hospital, and yet we don't know how are we gonna reach them. There's been times I've given my number as a callback, and I will go find the person, whether it's at an encampment, whether it's at Martha's Kitchen, whether it's at the homeless shelter. It's just a real challenge, it's a touch and go. But we've been successful with a number of people that I have just gone and seen at Martha's and said, hey, Valley Vista called back, we're gonna get you a ride tomorrow. Second barrier, transportation. So Medicaid rides can be very helpful, and also they need enough notice to be able to set up a ride for somebody. And when you don't really have an address of pickup, that's where we have to do extra work of, let's use the Samaritan House, let's plan on them meeting us at this day and time, let's go find them because we have no way to call them. So communication, transportation are big ones. And then if I look at people that may not have those kind of barriers, and it's just more about, they've been ambivalent about getting help, and finally they say, you know what, yeah, let's do this. So we make the call and they do the screening. But it might take days to get the response because they do the screening, it goes to the leadership team. Sometimes that's a 24-hour turnaround, sometimes it's like a 48-hour turnaround. And if you're making the call on a Friday, it could be a few days. And then if they get the call back that, yeah, we're gonna have a bed in 4 days from now, the window of willingness is like a moving target. So timing is a big one. The speed in which somebody can say they need help and actually start getting the help, there's too much of a gap there. The gaps have gotten a little bit smaller over time, but not enough, especially for people who have finally gotten to that place that they're ready for the help. Also, the residential treatment beds, while we have Serenity House in Valley Vista and they do a really great job, the reality is we do need more beds, and that's why we're passionate with this Substance Use Addiction Summit focus to be able to leverage like Granite Recovery, because they have so many beds. There's never ever a wait. It's just a matter of, do they take your insurance? Let's get the screening done. And I had one person that he was at Act 1, discharged from Act 1, had no place to go. So I did a 3-way call with this person, looped in Granite. They did the screening and told them to stay put, and they'll be there in 3.5 hours. They came from New Hampshire to pick him up and bring him there. So they are barrier busters, and that's what I love. So when we look at what do we need more of, we do need more residential treatment beds. We also do need more recovery residence beds, because those have been full. And that's why when you see Josh's story with the WCAX series, he wanted to stay in Vermont, but at the time, we have some great recovery residences, but they were already full with a wait list, because housing, as we know, is also a huge crisis in addition to addiction. So he ended up going to Maine, and he's still there. So we need more of the residential treatment centers, which are the medically assisted treatment centers, and then we also need recovery residences. Another piece is the housing. When people leave treatment, they're going back into homelessness or a hotel, they're not really set up for success. I've seen some people do it, but most just don't have what they need. So those are some of the things we need more of.
And the things you need less of.
Yeah, less barriers.
Yeah.
I think I would add to that, Melinda, the other thing that a lot of people don't know is that we lost our detox beds. So we had a
Public inebriate program at the Howard Center, yeah.
So, and there were 3 or 4 beds.
They had 2 different rooms, and they had been able to take, I think they've been able to take a third person depending on the dynamic, but 2 solid.
Right, so we had 3 PIP beds, we no longer have those. So if officers come into contact with somebody that is intoxicated, and that person can't be released to a safe family member or a safe option, then they have to be brought to the correctional center. And that puts up a really big barrier for follow-up after the fact, because that makes a lot of people angry when they have to go to corrections for detox versus going to the Howard Center where it was a warm, safe place to sleep for the night, and then they could be connected with services the next morning.
And also the Act One program, which was a detox in Burlington, that's also closed, because that used to be the one that we could get people in the fastest. Even though they did only detox versus detox and residential, but at least a person could go there and detox, then bridge to the residential program, and that's not available either. And again, at Granite, they have the detox, they have the residential program, which can be up to 30 days. They also have PHP, which is partial hospitalization. And then they also have the intensive outpatient and recovery. So they've got like the full continuum of care that they'll bridge people. So we're looking at like 4 to 6 months.
Is that state supported, the Granite, well, I don't know.
Granite
the
Recovery?
full- Yeah,
So it is, well, Granite Recovery is a recovery center a treatment center that takes New Hampshire Medicaid. They even
no, I meant,
How's it funded?
how are their operations funded?
Is it state funded or is
State
it?
funded, or is it, like Howard is
Well, I think
not
they-
for profit? I
No,
mean,
they're not a state, I don't think they're state funded.
You don't?
I don't think so. They bill their insurances, but I don't know, well, they're part of the doorway. I guess I don't know, because
Yeah.
they're open to taking people that are on Medicaid or private insurance. Are they state funded? I would believe part of them, but I don't think they're a nonprofit. I don't think they're a nonprofit.
Yeah, interesting.
But I'd have to find out.
And
a good
that's
question.
always where you go. You know, they're doing everything, it sounds like, so well.
They cover it all.
What is the model that could be replicated?
Right,
Yeah.
and that's what we're working on.
Yeah.
Is there any, like, pop-up, any of these services do pop-up things here in Swanton? I hear from people all the time that the bus schedule is just so awful, they don't have transportation, they can't get to St. Albans, they can't access these things. So has there ever been services that, like, blast all over Facebook or wherever, we're gonna be in Swanton this day, if you need services, come see us at this location, is that?
Not since COVID. We had actually done, anybody familiar with the community addiction workshops? We had just started rolling those
I
out
was just
in
thinking about
Swanton.
that.
Yeah, with Dr. Hawk and a team from, and Sandy, that's how Sandy and I got so close, because we planned that for over a year before it went live. And I think we had done a couple of those, and then COVID happened. Then we were also looking at we were in the process of doing a partnership. At the time, I was with NMC, and we had an outpatient clinic there, an addiction clinic, which also got shut down by COVID. But at the time, we were partnering with the Notch here and looking to do some groups here. There were also some, I know there was at least, 1 or 2 12-step groups in Swanton. I don't know if there's any
nothing
now. Yeah.
No, I get people all the time stop here and ask for resources, and everything I give them is St. Albans, and they're like, well, I have to take a bus at 6 o'clock in the morning and then wait until 6 o'clock at night to come home, and it's just not reasonable if they have children or jobs or.
There is a Voices Against Violence advocate that's based out of the Abenaki building.
Yes.
And she is available to assist as well, and she can help connect to services. And then, I completely lost what I was gonna say in addition, but yeah, Michelle is available at the Abenaki building to assist.
Oh, I love
so.
Michelle. Yeah,
Does
she comes from.
This might sound ignorant, I just don't know. Does she works with male and female? I was under the impression that she just worked with women.
She works with any victims of domestic
Okay,
violence.
excellent.
So
I
whether
didn't
that's a
realize
male
that.
or a female, she works with any victims.
Okay.
Primarily she sees females, and I think that's kind of across the state is
Yeah.
that way, but
Okay. Cool.
she'll work with any
Thank you.
victims.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. So Turning Point right now, we're hearing that feedback from like the Richford community, Enosburg, Albert. So we did open up, we have a satellite location in Enosburg, one in Richford. Had opened one up in Albert, nobody was showing up in person, so it's remote services only. I do think Swanton is like that next highest priority. And I think that this is gonna be helpful, just even taking this feedback.
Yeah, I would be willing to like open up some space here even and make something happen.
Or like an all recovery or smart
Yeah,
recovery
some
meetings.
kind of,
Okay.
yeah, something.
Can you make sure she has my,
Yes,
thank you.
absolutely.
Let's chat,
Yeah.
let's chat,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'd also love to do some Narcan training for my staff here, if that's something.
Absolutely, I could do that. I've gone to the St. Albans, I go to the St. Albans library periodically to do harm reduction pack and Narcan trainings and all
Yeah.
that. So again, let's schedule something and I will
I'll
come on
reach out to
site
you
within a
tomorrow.
couple weeks and we'll do a nice thorough training and then we can talk more in depth on how can we get something here, whether it is, our staff is, you know, like many people, there's short staffing, that music is lovely. I feel like
Zumba.
dancing. So I don't know about staffing, but we have so many volunteers in the recovery community too that want to help, and we have people that live in Swanton. They travel to St. Albans for meetings, and there's been a need in this area. So I think it's just a matter of let's talk to some of those individuals. It's a big undertaking to commit to meetings, and also some people are willing to do that if they know people will show up.
Yep.
So if there's the library in a way to get the word out, it would make it more worth the effort to get somebody to host those kind of meetings. So let's definitely connect after.
Thank you.
And I'll
Yeah.
also say that I teach Narcan delivery in every CPR class that I teach.
Okay, cool.
So that's incorporated in all American Heart Association CPR classes.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, so thank you so much for being here. I think we kind of gave a lot of great information. We'll share a lot of the information that Melinda shared with us today in our emails to you all. If you haven't signed up email lists, please do. And we'll push it out to the community the best we can with the communications committee. I think we made some great connections here tonight. It's always great to make those connections when you come here, and even if you make one or two and make a difference in a small amount, makes bigger impacts. But yeah, Zumba's downstairs, so everybody's gonna want to get up and dance. So there are resources up here, little like her cards with all of information needed for crisis. So please take them, take two. You may not need it for yourself, but maybe someone you'll meet on the street will need it. And then we'll connect you with Abby, and hopefully we can get some resources here in the community, because I know transportation is a huge barrier for a lot of people. So we want to make sure we kind of support where needed, and if people are coming in and asking for help, we really need to support that.
Yeah, and I know Amy Brewer's been working with the team on transportation too, so not that that would be new news to her, but she recently added me to that team, so I'll bring it back now that, you know, just to reinforce how badly transportation is needed, even if it's just one more bus through per week, to have it center around certain events that happen, so. And I apologize in advance if I talk too fast.
No,
Well,
It happens.
you have a lot of information to share in a little bit.
Yeah.
You took up 30 or an hour maybe, but.
Oh shoot, was it that long?
Yeah,
I'm
but
so
it was
sorry.
all good. We started late, and I just want to let like people that aren't here, and if you have folks that want to see this, obviously Siobhan videos all of our meetings, so this will kind of be
It'll be on
available
YouTube and Northwest Access TV.
to the community. So thank you, Siobhan. All right, so now we're gonna move on to our
Thank
committee
you.
chair stakeholder updates. So Chris Dodge, which is a Swanton school principal with the NBSD, did reach out, and he sent a kind of an updated report. He's sorry he couldn't be here tonight, but he had an appointment, and he didn't want to have to drive all the way back from the appointment and then back home. So we appreciate that he actually sent us an update, and I'm hoping that in the future he will come to more meetings. It was nice to see Don Collins here. He's part of the school board, so it's nice to see him present here also tonight, even though he had to go to the school board meeting. But Siobhan's gonna give a kind of a quick update on any things. Chris?
I had spoken on one of the last school board meetings about us still needing somebody representing, you know, because they said they thought we forgot about them, but we did not. I had messages out, people just weren't getting back, and now we have Swanton Elementary School principal. He gave us this update. I'm not gonna read all of it, but a few key parts. Missisquoi Valley School District is planning a district-wide preschool through 6th grade family literacy night on May 9th from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. in the MBU Theater. The evening will be facilitated by notable children's author Paul Reynolds and will include a variety of hands-on creative literacy-based activities, as well as free books and activities for children. Questions about the event can be directed to Kasha Patel, MVSD Director of Curriculum. All of this will also be included in our minutes afterwards, so if somebody's looking for information on that site, you can just try looking at the minutes. In the coming days, Missisquoi Valley School District administrators, board members, and additional stakeholders will reconvene to discuss and plan for a future second budget revote to be scheduled for a later date. MVSD reduced its first to second round proposed budget by $1,035,000. That reduction primarily represented postponed capital projects. MVSD will continue to work with stakeholders to discuss steps in drafting the next proposal while continuing to focus on high-quality student learning. MVSD schools are beginning the implementation of new reading programs. Swanton School is partnering with Swanton Recreation on Monday, May 6th to host an incredible star-based rocket launch on the recreation field. Our school's 5th graders have a long-standing tradition of participating in the star-based program, which offers hands-on science, technology, engineering, and math STEM opportunities in their state-of-the-art classrooms on the Air National Guard base in Burlington. During this program, each 5th grader has built a rocket, which they will launch on this day as a culminating activity to the program. You can read more about their students' engagement in this program in the St. Albans Messenger article. Swanton School young artists are excited to be hosting a community art show at the Swanton Public Library. The show opens May 3rd with a community reception from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. The show will remain open until May 30th. They are excited to be welcoming Jessica Bourbeau as Swanton's new assistant principal beginning July 1st. She is currently the school mathematics instructional coach and will replace outgoing assistant principal Justina Jeanette. Join them for an opportunity to meet and greet Miss Bourbeau. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah.
On Friday, May 10th from 3:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. in the Swanton School Central Library. Highgate celebrated Green Up Day by cleaning up the school and area playgrounds. Franklin Central School celebrated 100% attendance at parent conferences in March. Conferences included not only meeting with classroom teachers, but also with special educators and interventionists. These conferences provide great opportunities for families and caregivers to celebrate student progress. On April 15th, 6th grade teachers met with 7th grade staff to provide information to MVU regarding 6th graders to help with a smooth transition for the step-up day for the 6th graders into MVU. MVU Aspirations Steering Committee is making plans for a future planning website that would support students in knowing and planning for the expectations of high school and help them plan for life after high school. Volunteers from throughout Franklin County help facilitate a financial literacy day at MVU in February. And MVU continues to encourage and support the creativity of students through the arts. In April, students performed Footloose at this year's spring musical, drawing fantastic crowds from our communities and many of our elementary students for the dress rehearsal. And then we'll leave that there. And then any other little tidbits in between can be.
There is copies of everything that Siobhan just reported on in full here on the table. Also, the Abenaki Nation of Missisquoi sent us an update for people to take and review also. So a few little tidbits in there. All right. Arts Council.
Hi, I'm Allie, Secretary for the Swanton Arts Council. So we got our free art grant, so we've been funding some free art programming in Swanton, and lately we've been having some painting classes. So we recently had a Surreal Swans painting class held here at the library, or we funded it. Also funded another mini barn quilt making class by Marie Spear. And recently there was a youth watercolor class here at the library also, which was pretty cool. We have upcoming, we're working on a Swanee 5. I don't know if you're familiar with the thrilling saga that is the Swanee Stories. So we're looking for participants, any and all people are welcome to join. So I have a sign-up sheet that I like to pass around if people don't mind.
What is it, Ally?
So Swanee 5, it is a saga of horror, thrilling shorts, films involving a
Judy
swan.
Paxman's movies,
Oh,
if you've
got
ever
it.
seen them.
Got it. Okay.
That was the key part there.
I know what it is.
Thank you. I know I told Judy I'd sign up. I was in Swanee once. I might as well do it again.
Nice. We also are doing a raffle. So this lovely birdhouse here was donated by Barb Langevin, made by her husband who was passed, unfortunately. And the tickets are $5 and the proceeds go to the Friends of the Missisquoi Refuge. And the tickets are available here at the library. So you can buy one tonight if you would like.
Thank you.
Some other upcoming events that we have is, as Siobhan mentioned, we have the Youth Art Show is happening here at the library tomorrow. There's always great food and very wonderful and cute art. My daughter's art will be there also, so you don't want to miss out on my daughter's art. There will be an intro to embroidery free class here at the Swanton Public Library on the 4th. You can register, I believe, online.
It's full.
Oh, it's full. Never mind. You can just know that it's happening. On Friday, May 17th, there is going to be open mic nights, which should be fun. Anything, I think poetry, I think short stories.
Poetry, short stories,
Songs.
stand-up comedy, music, anything.
It's going to be a party.
All ages.
When is that?
It is May
17th.
17th, from 5:30 to 7:30.
Good, Hank just put
Food
a star on
included.
his calendar.
There's snacks.
And then another cool art thing that's happening is the Friends of Missisquoi is having their annual art show at the Refuge, which is starting on May 18th. And it'll be up for a while. And it's also pretty cool.
Great.
It's always a great show if you've never been.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Check it out.
Thanks, Ally. Abby, Swanton
Um,
Public Library.
Well, I just read half of mine. We have a ton of art programming happening. We also, the writers group is starting to pick up again. We've got 2 different book clubs meeting monthly. We're trying to get an adult game night going. We've had a lot of people requested, not a lot of people come, so I'm trying to figure out the disconnect there. We're working with Swanton Rec to do a teen gala where we're gonna give some awards to some teens in our community who are doing some really incredible volunteerism things. We have gotten some amazing donations this year for summer camp through Franklin County Caring Communities. The Methodist Church gave us a huge chunk of money. Swanton Arts Council gave us a ton of money. And so we are able to offer 5 weeks of camp this year, completely free. 4 of the weeks are full day, 8 to 4, and then 1 half day week, 8 to noon. Most of them are already full, but we do have a little space left in the half day camp still. We're really excited about that this summer. That's pretty much it for me.
Green Up Day, you're hosting
Green
the
Up Day, yes, we've
May
got Green Up
4th.
bags, thank you Molly.
Yeah.
And the sign up sheet so that we can keep track of where people are greening up, so we hope to hit the whole community. And also I hear we're getting a new garden as well.
You are. Cool.
Right, Hank?
Yes.
Thank you, Abby.
Susie's on it.
I am on it.
So Nicole's not here this evening for the Swanton Rec Department, but I can just give a quick update. So Little League is up and running, and cross country, football. We just got done our April break rec day camp, which was a huge success. I think she said we had up to 20 to 30 kids per day. And they had a blast, and we couldn't have done that without our great counselors that come and just enjoy being at the rec department, just want to hang out there even if they don't get paid to be there. So good times. And then, of course, there's a ton of other activities. We partner with the library, so.
Babysitting course coming
Babysitting
up,
course.
Corn Fest coming back for
We
the
just had a
second
hunter
year.
safety course.
Hunter safety.
So all kinds of things, small town, baby recreation. Just check us out on our website, swantonrec.org, and you can see more information.
Swanton Rec and Swanton Library are also going to be working together through the summer to have some more teen offerings as well. I forgot to mention that. Oh, I
Those
also
are
forgot.
always a big hit, the teen nights.
Teen nights, yeah, and we're also, in addition to like the regular teen nights, the library is going to every single Friday, June through August, have 4 to 6 p.m. teen like open space in our makerspace. You don't have to do makerspace stuff. You can come and just hang out, do nothing. Just a safe place for teens to be Friday nights.
Sweet. All right, Town of Swanton, I think that, Suzanne.
Village.
But Village, I mean.
Christine.
You're pointing at you.
Oh yeah, the town's not here, I'm sorry. I should wear my glasses when I'm trying to read things.
The work on the 4th Street property, the soil testing has been done, we're awaiting the results of that. No.
They are
Library
looking through
work
an
was finished.
assistant town clerk.
Yes, there is a
Wait a
position open for
Where
assistant town clerk
Is
and
the
treasurer.
soil testing?
People can apply for
For
that.
the,
Trailhead. Joel's not here to do LVRT. So we have the engineer, we have the engineering process, he has the paperwork for the invoicing, for the engineering, for it all. They will go over that at the Tuesday night meeting. That's not been released yet. I can't get my email Wi-Fi. I wasn't prepared, I'm sorry.
No, we're good. I skipped over the
Brian was
historical
sick, So he
society.
didn't come, and Joel, a little while ago told us he wasn't coming, so I already.
And Nicole's not here, so.
Nicole's not here. Because they all
Well.
fall back on each other.
They're all sick.
Oh,
Yeah.
I share their
like
pain.
flies.
Because Nicole was around all those kids last week.
Yeah.
That's what I said yesterday when I talked to her.
Did you have a question, Molly, or a
I
comment?
did. I had a couple questions. One, do you happen to know, so the soil testing on the roof property is
No,
done?
the 4th Street
4th
property
Street.
is what I was talking
I
about.
got the wrong information.
Oh, that's all right.
Susie
Yeah.
can answer for the village.
Yeah, yeah.
But I gotta circle back to the Historical Society. Did you say you had an update from Nick?
Speaking of people not feeling well, Nick's not feeling well, so he's not here.
Yeah.
But he told me that they have, the Historical Society is doing National Train Day on May 10th and 11th at the depot from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then also for the chamber, because he usually speaks for the chamber. Is there anybody else on there? It's not.
Darcy.
Well, he said the car show, but if, just,
That's
what is
July-
that, in July
July
27th?
That's the only thing major upcoming right now for
9 to
Chamber.
3 with the rain day being the
Memorial
next
Day
day.
Oh, yeah.
Memorial Day parade.
And,
And I'm working with the chamber to do that business thing. I'm working with the chamber to highlight a village business once a week on
Oh,
social
okay.
media.
Okay. Cool.
So Memorial Day Parade?
Memorial Day parade is happening. I
Okay.
think that's more of a community thing
Yeah.
rather than just a chamber
Okay.
event. They're trying to get everybody, Adam Paxman's kind of heading that one up, and I think it starts at the elementary school.
And is it on Memorial Day?
It is on
Memorial
Memorial
Day,
Day
2
at
o'clock.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, okay.
There's also flag planting, I'm not sure of the
The
exact
20
date.
The 29th,
That's
the
the
veterans flags will go up.
Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the Abenaki powwow Memorial Day weekend as well.
Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And that's at the rec department.
Yes.
It is.
We've got a lot of cool vendors lined up. It's looking like it's gonna be good.
Me.
Suzanne.
My turn. Okay, so.
Now the village.
Now the village, and Bill said I'm only allowed 2 minutes.
Oh, no. I would have given you 5.
Make sure he knows that.
Yeah.
He will. So we have a parking ban that's going to be implemented on Blake Street along the John Raleigh Field. Don't park there. No parking allowed. That's going to go into effect this summer. Public Works is utilizing a $35,000 highway safety improvement grant. They're going to install some signs throughout the area, and that will take place over the summer. We have a $200,000 grant for the B6 Veterans Memorial Bridge down here. We're gonna replace the joints on those. That's looking like it might be July, August timeframe, but we're still working with Dirt Tech, which is our vendor, to work on the exact date on that. And then the further upgrades will be 2029. So we have the upcoming initiatives include the wastewater facility plant upgrade. Bids are due by the 15th of May. And then we had an open bid for the 3-acre storm drain at the complex, but there were no bids, so that's been extended by 2 weeks. Those should be in by the 14th of May. PWD has undertaken significant work at Marble Mill, solidifying the grass area in front of the parking, and also covering up all of the graffiti down there. And I have a request for SEP if we could have you purchase a pickleball net for Marble Mill. It would be greatly appreciated.
So Christine Sweeney is coming on her way back from her time away, and she had presented that to us, and she's supposed to bring us a couple quotes. So yes, we do have money allocated for Marble Mill. I think it was 815. Yeah. So we'd be happy to. We just have to kind of get with Christine when she returns.
That's perfect. And
But, yeah.
you purchase the net, and PWD will install it on one of the courts.
And there's still tennis nets down there,
There's
right?
still
Okay.
tennis nets. Yes, those were installed, and those are up and ready to go.
Awesome.
So then I have 3 handicap spaces were marked in front of Merchants Row. One in front of the Chaffee side of the building, one in front of the Mason side of the building, and one right in front of the House of Pizza. So those are all ready to go. And we are looking to get a wheelchair ramp to put in on the side by 74 Merchants Row, which is the new municipal parking lot on the by Karen's hair studio. And then the last couple things is we're in the process of awarding the Scott Mueller Internship Award. We're working with Rich Barwin at the high school to do that, so we'll update once we have that done. And on 427, we had the graffiti incident with the porta potties, Chaffee's building, several buildings throughout the village, and I worked with Chief Chevalier. He volunteered the fire department. We executed that and got as much as we could covered up. There were 7 locations hit, and all but 2 we were able to get covered up. We have to work with the property owners of the properties when they're private, and some we weren't able to get in contact with on that day. But I just think it's a really good, it shows how when we come together as a community, we can get stuff done.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
And there we go, that's the village.
And so there is 30-minute parking signs, I know, or 20 or 30 minutes. Are those new? Or have those been there?
So are you speaking of the 30-minute parking sign?
There's one in
that's
front of Bees
in
on Broadway
front
and
of
the parts store, and there's
Parts
also
Store.
some on Merchants Row.
So the 30-minute parking, as far as I can see, those were recently put up.
Okay.
I'm not certain that they're in compliance with the ordinances that we currently have, as the village downtown parking is a 2-hour parking limit.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that PWD put those signs up.
Or the park store Jeff put up a long time ago,
Yeah,
prior to me moving in there.
right.
Okay.
So we are looking at making several 30-minute parking areas, a couple 30-minute parking areas in front of the park store in Bees on Broadway. It's a discussion we're bringing up on 513. It's not something we've had solidified yet. I believe I did put it for the discussion agenda, so that is something we are discussing.
And then is there a public meeting for the bridge coming up?
Not for the not for the repairing of the joints. We will be talking about the next meeting, but there are meetings coming up to discuss the replacement or the refurbishment in 2029.
Oh, okay.
That's what that was referencing.
Thank you.
Yep, and then Also, we have a meeting coming up to talk about the scoping project for the downtown and the traffic, the possible one-way of Church Street. So that's another public meeting that we'll be having to discuss that as well.
Do you have a date for that one yet?
I believe that Bill had that on that flyer that was out but I will get you the date. I don't have it on top of my head.
Well, thank you for the update. Anybody
you.
have anything for Suzanne?
Oh, and Molly, we're updating everything that we know about the RIF project.
Oh, good.
At the 5:13 meeting.
Oh, good.
So if you want to just zoom in.
Yeah, good. We're invited in person too, right?
You absolutely are.
Thank you. You
Yes.
got the floor.
Well, thank you. Beautification Committee. First of all, the May 18th, Saturday is planting day. So we invite you to come in and get your hands dirty, bring some hand tools, and we'll have fun starting about 9 o'clock, and it goes through the morning. And this year we've got tons of flowers that we're gonna really make the village sparkle. Our $5,000 goal has been achieved, and that reflects for us support for what we're doing. One way of reflecting that support. We also have on our plan to plant 10 street side trees every year, and I'm also applying for a grant, so we might accelerate that. Green Up Day is this Saturday. Thank you, Addie, for putting this online and creating the list. And I'd like to put a table out on the steps on Saturday morning. I'm sure that's okay.
Sure, yeah. We're doing a plant swap, so it'll be busy, so that's probably a good spot to be.
Yeah, okay. As a side note, we've been working with Joel Clark and the VFW to create a mural, a large mural at the entrance to the village just as you cross the bridge. And it's by the
VFW?
It's on VFW property, but it's just in front of the laundromat. And we're working with a young man named Samson Lake, who's using this as an Eagle Scout project to plan it for us and to work with others to get it going.
He's not the painter, though. You haven't got.
No, he's doing the organizing and the planning for
Right.
it. Starting with the planning. Yeah. Let's see. That's it for now.
You didn't want to talk about the bridge? No.
Well, we've had some vandalism too of the flower boxes on the bridge, and we're going to keep ahead of it. Ross Lavoie is going to be building 3 new replacement boxes, which will stain and so on. We retrieved one, or Dean Ryan retrieved one down the river, but this happened a couple of weeks ago, and it's the second year we've had that sort of problem. So the trick is to stay ahead of it and show some resolve in making this a beautiful place.
Just like Suzanne was saying on the graffiti, you've got to just constantly
Keep ahead of it.
and keep ahead of it, and hopefully we'll be able to engage at some point who's ever responsible, so that we can do a little,
Hopefully they'll
community
get sick of it.
restorative justice.
Right?
Well, there was a number of, besides just the graffiti, there was a number of mailboxes that were smashed.
Yeah.
And from Highgate to St. Albans Town to Swanton, it made a very busy morning for me the next morning.
Oh.
So, the officers are actively pursuing every lead that they get, and the departments are working together, so hopefully
Thank you.
there will be a resolution.
Thank you.
Crystal, you want to keep talking?
Yeah, sure. So, as Abby mentioned, May is a month of celebrating youth in the state of Vermont, and in April we were really excited. The Vermont Teen Institute worked with Swanton Rec Youth to hold something they termed a solar soiree, which is a celebration of the solar eclipse. We were really excited because this was the only youth-specific event that was a substance-free event. There were a number of events throughout the county that were billed as family-friendly events, and almost all of them had an alcohol component as part of the celebration. So we were really excited to have an event that was specifically for youth in a safe space for young people. And with the exception of a very small number of attendees, almost all of our attendees were Swanton kids. So that was really exciting. The kids had a great time. We were a small but mighty group. We're looking forward to continue working with Swanton Rec and Abby to provide great programs for young people this summer.
Nice.
Thank you. Siobhan?
Still doing the same thing. Cameras, I recorded something for Nick for the Chamber of Commerce and downtown businesses and navigating digital world thing, recording these meetings. Still need to meet with Judy Paxman to start working on an event flyer where we, mark events like 2-week notice at a time. That's everything else. I jump into meetings and share information online and etc. And I'm just gonna leave it there because I just do the background work and you guys all do most of the work, so.
Oh, thank you, Siobhan.
Siobhan, I need to ask Siobhan, like I do every meeting, are you still an I or are you a we? Do you have a committee?
Yeah, we have Nicole, Abby, Nick.
Awesome.
Kylie.
Awesome.
Shane Mott joined for a while.
Awesome.
Susie, if you're interested, communications.
Good.
It's just that everybody's already so busy, so like the last meeting that I held a meeting, everybody was busy, so nobody came through, so I've been trying to find other avenues of even our committee being, communicative with one another, even if it's just email. We should keep on touch with email.
Yeah, I wasn't asking that because I care.
No, I know, I was just throwing that in.
I just wanted to say I can't do it all. And so communications is so diffuse now that you need all those partners. So I'm glad that you've got some. Good, great. I want more people.
Darcy, did you have anything you wanted to add for community economic?
I joined the chamber board and so that I could be more effective and learn a little more on how to work forward. We started with some groups with the businesses, try to create some sort of a working group to find ways to promote the downtown businesses or Swanton businesses as a whole. And we have some things kind of in the works, but it'll be a while. So nothing much right now, but there is a proposal that's being discussed for some advertising.
And we spoke about it in your absence at the last meeting, and I think that there was willingness among.
I didn't email it to you. I have a 3-page proposal that's gone out to all the boards.
Yeah, she'll share it with us.
That we want to support.
Probably the next meeting, I'll be ready.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I'm using my platform as a trustee to promote the businesses here in the village and just giving them a shout out. I'm gathering the businesses that I'm unaware of that don't have a storefront, and we'll be pushing forward with that, with working with local business owners to get that out.
That's appreciated because they could use the support. Absolutely.
Nicole, if I could add to that, Nicole said that she had a student intern that was working on creating like a business directory and a different website. So Nicole would be a great person to reach out to for like a list of businesses that, just even for a head start.
Yeah. And we're also gonna add services.
Yes, yeah.
It's a community guide.
Community organization.
Yeah.
It might be cool if maybe you wanted to grab this camera and go to some of those places and chat to the business owners and throw those up on YouTube.
Do business spotlight.
Yeah. Heather Buchkowski used to be really good about that. I would love to see that happen again.
She was doing the spotlight on Swanton.
Yeah, so maybe something similar.
That is something I'd like to do, but it's also it's a little bit more in depth. I'd like for honestly the presentation that Mimi put on through Gray Media, it was like 2 hours long, it was very broad, and it had a lot of details, and she said that when she does her training, she can get more in-depth for the business's specific needs, and that's why I called you about, Darcy. That's the voicemail I left you, and I left one for Divine Treasures as well, but I'm thinking if you guys get a chance to like take a look at that video, and then I mean a little bit more. You guys do social media a lot, and you guys do a great job with it, but like they're the experts, you know, and they hope to gain, you know, business, you know, from working with businesses and whatnot, but they put on these learnings and trainings for free, and they offer a lot of really good information, and especially when you get one that's a little bit more specified and tailored to like your businesses in your downtown.
The biggest problem that they had was putting it in the middle of a Wednesday morning when everybody's open.
It was not scheduled at a good time, but that's why I asked her too, like, is there a way? I was like, we appreciate you doing this for us, but is there a way that we can work it to where we work around the business schedule?
Most of us are sole
None were
proprietors.
there.
I have no staff. I can't close to go to a training.
Yeah, exactly.
It's bad enough closing just to go pick up inventory.
But are you guys still holding your little business meetings at like
we attempted to hold business meetings. The first one we had a handful of people. The second one we had 3 people, and after that we kind of gave up because nobody was coming. And I said, okay, let's do it digitally. Let's just email ideas back and forth. And I got crickets. So I'm looking at different directions with it.
The food truck outdoor markets, those are kind of up in the air. I know that we talked about switching it. I'm going to change it off here so we don't have to start everybody, but we talked at the last meeting here about maybe doing Mondays, and then there have been some updates, and I ran into Scott Martell, and he said that they were talking about doing it Wednesdays, and so that's going to be something we got to work on if we're going to keep doing that. I know that Mark Langlois from C&M Concession was down to do Mondays, but if it changes to when, I'm the volunteer for the markets, I'm always there all day on that side, and our businesses need to be in their businesses. And that's another thing, we talked about signage. If we have these markets, it'd be nice if there was signage, like little, check out House of Pizza, check out Pizza on Broadway, that's actually something we could put right there in the dirt. I don't know if that's something we could talk later about SEP having funding for, to like help these businesses out if we do these. But, you know, that way, and we'd make sure we didn't have canopies and businesses to where our walkways are clear, and then we go, don't forget your pizza over here, and don't forget to check out your bees over here, and et cetera. But as far as I know, I'm still just waiting a little bit more information on that, and that's
my personal opinion on that, not that it matters, is that it would be better focused on one big event for the summer rather than multiple little that are not attended well.
Yeah, the last time we had the last meeting, or the last event in September, St. Albans had switched one of their rain days to our third Sunday. So, you know, the vendors paid to be in Swanton and then still went to St. Albans. You gotta think about that. They're trying to run a business, and you know, I don't blame them at all. Like, they need to be able to make money to keep their businesses going. What does that say when they were willing to give up the $25 they paid to be here and said, screw it, I'm gonna go to St. Albans and already make more money anyway? And that's because, you know, we can't compete with what the St. Albans, you know, can offer when they have 80 vendors and way more people that go there. However, we can learn from it, and I've contacted other market managers, Alberg, St. Albans, and try to get on more of the same page and cohesive, and you know, because if they do a day on Saturday, we won't do ours on Saturday because nobody's gonna come, you know, and that's why I was thinking Monday would have been a good one, because I know of Thursdays and Wednesdays and Tuesdays. I know of every other day of the week that has markets, but Mondays.
Wednesday was picked because Nicole and I are both available to be there and run the markets Wednesday. So that's why we were discussing Wednesdays. I do like Darcy's idea though about it maybe just being a one-time summer thing. Do you maybe have a moment that you would come talk with Nicole and I? Yep. I'll send you an email.
People mentioned the
actually
works better.
It was before my time, but people people mention the festival that
Here
used
we
to happen
go.
in the park, and then the art spectacular that used to
Nicole and
happen.
I's like big idea is to do like maybe well, we're gonna have music for sure. That's a given. I really want to do like a battle of the bands thing and have 2 bands and have people like give money to the bands that they think is better, and then we'll donate all the money to a cause. And then we're also going to specifically have kids stuff this
Yeah.
year, and it's gonna be like a fenced-in area, and I'm gonna be there set up with like a craft and a story and whatever. There's gonna be either a bounce house or a little blue truck, or we're gonna have something for kids that's contained, music, food trucks, and then the market.
That sounds amazing.
And I really like the idea of it only being once.
And I mean, if it doesn't work for us, it doesn't work, you know. So if once sounds great, you know, if we can get all that together, then we'll have Corn Fest, we'll have that event, plus all the pop-ups that you do and stuff, and
I think the key is to look at existing calendars and see where there's a hole that you can plug into. And maybe not try to specify a night right now, because if you can plug into that hole when people are looking for things to do, that's your in.
Yep.
And we've got the LVRT thing being done and the new businesses next to Darcy that are gonna be those are promotional keys.
Let's talk outside of this meeting. if there's
All right,
something.
is there any other public comments?
I just have an announcement that I forgot to mention. So on May 25th, there is a public event called Ride for Olivia. And it is celebrating the life of Olivia Miles, who passed away a year ago in a substance-related car crash. She and her parents were hit by a drunk driver, and she was killed instantly. She's 6 years old. And so this event is to remember her and to raise money for Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And the Miles family was just recently told that all of the funding will stay in the state of Vermont, which is really exciting. They are creating the Olivia Miles Education Fund. And so all of the funding that will come in will be used to educate Vermont youth about the dangers of impaired driving. So that is the 25th of May, and the motorcycle ride is the first portion of it. It starts down at
Wilkins and Barry.
Wilkins and Barry, and it will end at the Franklin Elementary School where Olivia would have been in the first grade. And they have a lot of really fun events planned. They have a DJ, they have an incredible array of auction items. Many of our local businesses here in Swanton have donated to that cause. So I'd love to see Swanton folks participate as well.
And if you have a flyer, you can send it to Christine and she can put it with a minute. Okay, super, super. So I did put July meeting on here, to be announced. I don't know if we're going to meet in July or not. It's a tough time for everybody, plus there could be possible bridge construction. People are on holidays. It's never successful, I don't feel. So I would just say probably no meeting in July.
I agree.
And then we'll work on planning our
Annual meeting in September.
Right on.
And it will give us time to do a save the date, you know, just get that out early as soon as so would you do a September meeting? I don't know when Labor Day is, haven't looked at my calendar, but
I think it's a Tuesday.
no, Labor Day is always Monday.
It's the 2nd, September 2nd.
September 2nd, so we'll be okay. We're way beyond that.
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
so we can really promote the heck out of that.
All right, so no July meeting, and can I get a motion to close the meeting?
I'll make a motion, close the meeting.
Second.
Siobhan and Molly, or Hank. All right, thanks everybody for coming. Get up and stretch your legs, have some chocolate.
Okay, dance. Time to
Did they sign up
dance.
sheet for Swanee?
Oh, Swanee sign up
Oh, I
sheet.
have it. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay, cool.
It's docked here.
So Darcy,
Yes.